Hey everyone, welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
Melissa, sometimes I like to think about life.
Yes. Uh-oh.
But I like to think about life, like zoom it out, right? Like, let's see like the broad strokes of life.
yeah, I
Let's
like
see
it.
like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
get real, zoom way out on
Yeah.
it.
Like
And so when I start
strategically.
zooming out on life and looking at my life and other people's lives, I also like to visualize it as a graph.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is like my I don't know, like
Jimmy Neutron.
artsy kind of like uh highly visual
Yeah. Yeah.
thing that I do,
Yeah.
plus a little bit of like math,
Yeah.
right? So let's look at life as a graph, so everyone can picture a graph in their head of like the up and down axes,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
is change, and the horizontal axis is just time, right?
Oh,
So it's like
got it.
like change over time.
Sure. Okay.
So how does your life change over time?
Got it.
Just think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
How much your life has changed over time.
Yeah. I just feel like the responsibilities have gotten more and more.
It's different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Except as a man, my graph is completely flat. And I call that the man line.
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
think as soon as when you're a young man and you turn like 18, your primary objective in life is to just make sure like everything in your life is just a constant, no change, flat line. Right?
Oh
And
my gosh.
And the biggest man drama you're gonna encounter in your like life, in your lifeline there, is like the golf balls I've been using for 20 years aren't made anymore. I gotta switch to different golf balls, and then it'd be like a little blip in your graph. And you keep trucking along the man line.
Oh my gosh. I can't even take it. Oh.
But then I look at like my wife's graph of life, and it's just like, she's like grad school, and then she moves here to, then she moves here with me, and then kids and careers and ups and downs all over the place, and her graph's like up and down and up and down and up and down, and my life's just boom, solid man line, straight and stable.
Oh, this is wrong on every level. Oh my gosh. And that is I am digging this. I don't even know
It's
where
wrong,
to start.
and it's true.
And it's wrong and it's true. Well, it's funny you should bring this up because my sweet daughter Megan is planning her wedding right now.
Awesome.
And
a blip in her, a deflection in her JJ's life change graph. Okay.
Oh my God. Well, hers has got a blip, but Teach, her fiance's, probably no blip.
Man line.
Man line. Can we get t-shirts? I seriously want a t-shirt, and I don't.
It's just a straight line that goes across the
Right,
t-shirt.
except the way that I pictured that is, when they set people up on heart monitors, and then there's like they flatline.
Yeah, it's that.
It's the teeniest little blip right before it flatlines. Oh, in this case, it would be the opposite. It would be a flat line with just a little blip at the very
At the end.
But I was just reflecting on this, like all the change that my daughter is going through. So even though she's been with Teej for years and years and years, and they've had this, wonderful relationship, they're now in the process of having the more deeper conversations. They're getting married. So now it's like the finance conversations, the children conversations, right? The planning of the wedding conversations. And while Teej is a fantastic partner for her and supporter, he doesn't have the same level of emotional investment in this that she does. And not
Yeah.
because it's because he's a guy.
Right.
It's because he has a man line. He's probably going to just
Yeah.
he's going to be so
Yeah.
disrupted by this. No, it's not
Uh,
true.
but I mean, yeah, that's fine. He can say that. But when he fast forwards, he'll see it. Um, but yeah, I feel like I don't know, this is a little gender
Yeah.
stereotyped, right?
Yes. And
And
we
so
recognize
we're
we're
not
doing
laying
that.
this down as
Yeah.
like the global truth or anything. But
Although it probably is.
my observation is a lot of the guys that I hang out with,
Hmm.
and myself will often just try to keep this more steady emotional state,
Yeah.
right?
Why is that?
And we'll kind of hold it, and we'll actually probably hold it for way longer than we ought to
Mm,
try to hold it.
mm.
And that's where I was kind of coming up with this, because this man line idea is
I love
you know,
that
like
phrase so
activities
much.
are one thing, but when we get down to the next level, it is like my observation, at least, is that men try to hold a very steady emotional state,
Yeah.
and they'll hold it, and then sometimes maybe it'll just break.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll try to hold it until it breaks.
Yeah.
They won't really surf it. They won't let it go up and down. They'll try to hold it until it breaks.
Why? Why is
I
that?
don't know. That's a good
Well,
question.
you are a man. I was hoping you might give a little insight to all the female listeners. The last I checked, I think our female listener population was like 63%.
Well, if I knew, I probably wouldn't be behaving this way.
Oh my gosh. And women do the opposite. Women engage in the emotional component like from the get-go, right? They
Yeah.
engage in that emotionalism from the get-go. Even if they're a very analytical woman, they still do.
Mhm.
Like you just kind of feel like it's your job to do that.
Yeah. Well, it maybe a little bit of insight is like certainly for me as a young man, like in my 20s,
Yeah.
like I still really had very little awareness of my emotions, and probably even through my 30s. It just I think a lot of it's just not being aware,
Hmm.
and then I don't know, busyness, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you know what
just
else?
like we just gotta get that
I
stuff
have a
done,
question
just
for
keep
you.
plowing through.
This is like, ooh, this is kind of like turning into a really interesting topic. So how about how boys are socialized in their family structure versus girls?
Mm,
I mean,
mhm.
it's obviously there's millions of books written on this topic and that sort of thing. And,
Yeah.
lots of psychologists have had, plenty of
So
talk
yeah, I
shows.
totally wanted to do a pod about gender stereotypes at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I think what we're talking about is in many families, in most families, the matriarchal role in the family is the
Mhm.
emotion and the up and down and the staying connected to the child's experience, right?
Mhm.
And yet when the mother is teaching her children to be contributing members of society, the mother also has gender stereotypes she's not even aware of.
Mhm.
And she may have her son, clean the house, vacuum, do dishes that are
Mm.
unlike how the old days, right? Like the 50s
Mhm.
or whatever, where it was the woman's job to do all of those things. But she may teach that, but I wonder stereotypically the emotional side.
Yeah, no, I would say, and this is a topic I love to dive into more,
Hmm.
um, mostly because like I think about it in my own parenting
Yeah, same.
is like the way uh, the the ways I like have parented like my two older boys
Mhm.
versus our younger daughter
Yeah.
is different.
Yes.
And it's just different. It's like different on like almost an instinctual level.
Yep.
Like I just do these things,
Hmm.
but I've been thinking a lot about, wait, why am I doing that a little different?
Hmm.
And it's not big different. It's not hugely different.
But it's noticeable.
But it's like these subtle little things.
Mhm.
Like, and I like a year ago, my wife called me out on something. I don't remember what it was, but she said like you would have never
Yeah.
you would have never dealt with the boys in that way, like you're dealing with Abby.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's true. She's like, you're being kind of hypocritical about the way you're going about parenting the kids. I was like, yep, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually have said that with Mitch
there's
too.
a male female thing happening
Yeah.
there with how we parent
Well,
them.
and I think like in our family, what I noticed is that Mitch would be harder on Mitchell than he would be on Megan every single time. And not intentionally at all and subtly, but just really noticeably to me. It's like he had a lot less flexibility for Mitchell doing something wrong. And
Yeah.
Mitchell's our oldest too, so you don't know if it's also just like birth order. But
It's hard.
yeah, but I do think it's just because as a male, you have different expectations of males.
Even think about like a very simple scenario and of like if your male child gets hurt, like they're at the playground, they run around, fall, skin their knee, right?
Yes.
The very typical response is like, okay, buddy, oh man, you really fell. Get up, let's go. Come on, move it along.
Yeah.
And what we're teaching there is you can't sit on that emotion or that pain or that event. Get moving.
Yeah. It's not
Just
manly.
keep going forward. Right? Now, if my little girl does that, then it's like I'm down on my knees, I'm hugging her. It's okay. Let's go get you cleaned up. It's like it's a whole different
vibe.
Yeah, and in one way, she's learning to like be more in touch with some of those emotions. Like I am feeling scared, I am feeling hurt, I am seeking comfort, right? Like she's guiding through an emotion and going and through it. And with the boys, we're just like, whatever you feel, cork that and get back out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I was in Target last night and this mom had two boys and one was probably 9 or 10. And then the other one was like, I don't know, 3 or 4, and it was in the cart. And the 9 or 10-year-old was walking alongside of the cart backwards in Target, and they had a big roller rack in the middle of the aisle that he didn't see. And he hit it. And the whole display toppled over. It was all these bottles of like shampoo and conditioner.
Oh my God.
And
I've totally been there. My kids did that one time.
And he got his head banged and he started to cry. Well, he was trying to hold it together, and he turned around and he saw this huge mess that he made. And then he scanned. I just watched all of this in a microsecond. He banged his head. It hurt. He then scanned the room, saw he made a huge mess, saw that there were like 3 other people watching what happened, and he was filled with shame. And he hid his face and almost inside of the cart, like he tipped his face into the cart and covered his eyes and started to cry. And immediately, me and another mom, you could tell it was another mom, ran over and started to pick it all up and put it together. And I said, oh my gosh, I did this once. I tried to shake hands with the mannequin and the entire mannequin collapsed on the floor. And I was left holding the arm. And, and it was just that moment though. But what she did was interesting. She just said, buddy, are you hurt? And I was like, wow, I thought that was really nice of her to say that because it's not typical. Most moms would also feel embarrassment, if their son did something rowdy like that, and they would get in trouble.
Yeah. Why did you do that?
Why'd you do that?
Like,
see, this is what happens when you don't pay attention. Like that's the more common.
Yeah.
And then as I was walking away, because then I realized I'm embarrassing him by staying there. So then I tried to just like scoot away. And I heard her say to him, that is an example of kindness. And I was like, wow, that mom is so on it. Like most moms wouldn't do that in Target.
Yeah. Yeah, most of us would just lose it along with our kids. So it's interesting that the way we go through life and sort of either try to keep our emotions stable or let them kind of come up and down maybe has a lot to do with our upbringing or just even gender stereotypes as a kid.
Yeah.
So now kind of knowing that, like, what can we do with that information
Yeah, I don't
now
know.
to make to kind of like help us feel better?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a great question. I'd be interested to hear what you think about that. I was just reflecting, as this wedding is coming up, even so we've just been talking about like kid examples, but here my adult daughter is getting married and I do public speaking, right? I would love to talk.
Don't even tell me you're nervous to talk at the
No,
wedding.
no, but I'm going to tell you,
Okay.
no, not at all. But you know what I am nervous about? The mother of the bride doesn't talk at a wedding. The father of the
Well, that's
bride.
going to be hard for you.
The father of the bride talks at a wedding. So there's another one. Like it happens. There are so many touch points in our
Well, come
lives.
on, Elbers family, break those stereotypes.
Because Mitch is like, I don't want to, do I have to say, I don't want to
Yeah.
say it. Do I need to say something? It's like, yes, you're supposed to. And I'm like, can I do it? No, that's
Yeah,
weird,
no.
Mom. But isn't that interesting though? Like even then, it's like, even then we have all these expectations that the male is supposed to do certain things and the female is supposed to do certain things. And
Yep.
straight up, that's just the way that it is. So then you put this man line in it. Like you put this man line, overlay this over anything, and it becomes very interesting because in this experience of, like I said, the father of the groom says, or father of the bride says
Mhm.
something, right? Well, you overlay a straight man line in that situation. Guy feels very uncomfortable doing that because there's going to be emotion involved.
Yep. Right. Yeah. So doesn't want to do it. He wants to hold the
Yeah,
line.
he wants to hold the line. He doesn't.
Sounds like a song. What isn't there a song about holding the line? I think it's the company line, but maybe they meant
No,
like the
Shania
emotional
Twain.
line.
No.
I gotta hold my emotional line steady.
Well, but the man line serves you though, right? Like the man line has served you. Or no, hasn't it? Like, because you want to talk about feeling better through it, but really, like, has it served you? Because why change something if it hasn't
Well,
served you, or if it served you, I mean.
so that's a really great question. That's a really great question because in one way it probably does. It would
Mhm.
help me just sort of like um get through times that I don't particularly
Yep.
like in a fairly kind of what would
Low impact.
what you would observe as like a low drama way,
Low
right?
impact. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of just like looking, looking down the road, stay focused on moving ahead, don't worry about this stuff, just keep going, right?
hmm
So you're able to navigate through bits of drama and turmoil and things and it looks, certainly from the outside, it looks like, yep, I can just keep plowing through all of this stuff. I'm getting work done. Yeah, we're hitting our goals. Yeah, we're paying the bills,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So in that way, it's you can use that as a tool,
Yeah.
right?
And I want to just, before you go to the dark side,
Mhm.
I'm assuming you're gonna head over on that side in a minute, but I will +1 you and say that is something that I value in Mitch, his man line, because at times where there's a lot of drama in our family, which isn't often, but when it is, it feels scary because it's not our
Yeah.
common state. Whenever there's something that happens that's emotionally draining or triggering, he's almost always the one who is, just
Yeah, it's
flat
like,
and consistent.
and you'll describe people like that in your life, like, oh, they're the rock,
Yes, I
right?
call him the rock.
Yeah.
I call him the rock.
And so that's comforting,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, so it's
It's
not
like
all
no matter
bad.
what crap's happening, this guy's here, steady state,
Yeah.
steady emotion as he's got us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you're right, that part is good. The part that probably isn't as good is that when you don't kind of like get in and deal with some of the emotions,
Mhm.
they can come back later
Harder.
as like regrets, should haves. I wish I would have gotten into that more, made a deeper connection. Like for me, one of those moments was when I was um, going through like my business partner
Yeah.
divorce,
Right.
I was I I was trying to be as much as I could be on that steady
I
state,
know you were. Mm-hmm.
like really holding those emotions close and tight and trying to stay steady.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife describes that period of our relationship as like the worst time in our
Mm-hmm.
relationship because I wasn't actually emotionally connecting with her. So
Yeah.
I held it too tight,
Mm-hmm.
which caused us to not feel as connected
Right.
as a couple,
Right.
which was harmful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it can, if you hold it too tight, then like I wish I wouldn't have held it so
Well,
tight.
yeah,
I
I
could
always
have
call
just
it
been much more
yeah,
emotional.
I always call it collecting stamps. Like there's a lot of opportunities where you could have more input, you could have more of an emotional investment.
Hmm.
And when you don't, it is kind of collecting a stamp until the last page of the book is full and it gets cashed in somehow. There's some
Yeah.
sort of breakdown or there's some sort of disagreement or there's something that happens as a result.
Yeah. And probably not that I would have been happier during that time if I would have let my emotions flow
Right.
more freely. Um, but
Yeah.
I think I probably would have gotten through it with a little less PTSD.
Well, maybe a little more grace, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
understanding our emotions and understanding how we show up, it does not mean that nothing bad's going to happen. I
Hmm.
mean, life is
Yeah.
life. It just gives
Yeah.
us more of an opportunity to have an awareness about that. And I honestly think men have not been given the approval or the flexibility to have those same emotions, to show that same level externally as women. It just is not something
Hmm.
that's been in our society has been lauded at all. As a matter of fact, it's been something that you're supposed to have some shame or guilt over in the
It's like
past.
a
It's like a
weakness, right?
weakness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the man line's real. The man line's real. I was just picturing the woman line overlapping that, and it's just like high,
It
high,
just
low,
crazy
low,
it up,
woo,
boom, boom,
woo,
boom, boom.
woo.
It's like a roller coaster up and down.
And not really the smooth top and bottom. There could be some real jagged edges.
So the interesting thing about this conversation, and when we're using that like funny visualization,
Yeah.
is like, yeah, if you asked me years ago, like about should I be more emotional,
Yeah.
by like, oh no, I just like I don't want to do that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, I was kind of falling into a gender stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I'd say no. I actually like want to be more emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that and say, I wish, I hope I'm learning to become more expressive and more in touch with my emotions as I go up and down, right?
Yeah. And I would,
So, and then you were actually kind of saying a little bit like, hey, I kind of envy a bit of the steadiness
Mhm.
of the other approach, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there might be a little bit of middle
Yeah.
ground
And
there.
I would say too, I think we should be very forthright and say that we're not talking about not having the emotions or having them. What we're talking about is the expression of,
Hmm.
right? Because we all have the capacity to have very deep emotions, and but the sharing of those
And
and the
expressing them, right?
expressing of those is what we're
Yeah.
really discussing. And
Yep.
I would just go back, like, just as you said, what do you do with this, if with this kind of awareness now? Or you
Hmm.
asked that question, you said something about how can you make yourself happier or something with it now? What would you say is the answer to that for you?
Oh, that was I just said it. Is that
Oh,
I'm trying to get like more
yeah,
expressive
got it.
because I think generally that will be a better. I what I want is like to have a more positive
Mm,
impact on like my
yeah,
relationships,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So I know that if I'm like kind of too, not that I want to be like
I know what you mean, though.
way up and down, but
Yeah.
like it's good for me to express my feelings more than I do.
Hmm.
Like I don't have to be so attempting to control them so much,
Right.
right? So like letting for me, it's like letting go
Hmm.
a bit.
Yeah. I think too, by being able to let go more and by being able to express in the moment or soon during the experience, what your emotions are. Like I always say, if you poke here, it's going to push out somewhere else, right? I mean, it's
Hmm.
and so rather than collecting those feelings, and those are the feelings that collect inside of our system, the negative feelings that we can't express. Those are the feelings that collect in our system and then end up turning into resentment and turning into those
Hmm.
kinds of things. They become bigger than they need to be. Um, and that creates kind of a more unstable environment inside of us to be able to
Hmm.
create and produce at our best.
Yep.
So I really like that idea of having more awareness and letting that be okay. And as we mature and grow, like be curious, like be open to the curiosity of what would happen if I did this. I think
Hmm.
that's a great perspective.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for entertaining my man line
That's the
idea.
funniest thing in the world. I just love the visual.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.